Okay, in this video, I'm going to make my own bowling shoes. I was shopping, my bowling shoes got stolen at a bowling alley. They were like $200 Dexter shoes, and they were blue suede. And I was like, well, crap, nothing I can do now. So I went hunting for blue suede bowling shoes. Can't find them, don't exist. 99% of all shoes out there are synthetic, made in China, plastic, crap. And not only are they terrible synthetic materials, but they look like they're designed by a 110-year-old geezer in a nursing home. I looked at shoes anywhere from 30 bucks all the way up to 270 bucks, $300, and couldn't find anything that I wanted. So I said, screw it. I am not going to pay $300 for shoes. And they didn't even have any shoes that I liked anyway. So I'm like, I'm gonna get some suede shoes, blue suede shoes. These actually were cream, but I dyed them in blue. Airwalks, Airwalks fans, my kind of shoes anyway. I saw some videos online of people making homemade bowling shoes. So I took what they had to say, and I'm going to kind of put my own spin on it a little bit. These have a rubber bottom, so they're brand new, but I did take a orbital sander, and with 80 grit, I did scuff this up a little bit, but I did it for like 30 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds. But I don't really think it did that much. And I don't even know if this is necessary. But I thought, why not? What the heck? So that's all I've done. A lot of people on YouTube had got some Velcro to stick to the bottom, but they had like skinny Velcro and they ended up using like 2 or 4 sheets on the bottom. And that's just kind of a little ghetto in my opinion. So I said, no, I'm going to find, so I measured the width of the shoe. That's 4 inches, almost 4 inches. And so I found some 4-inch sticky back Velcro on Amazon. So I'm going to, as you can see, the 4-inch Velcro, and this is a 7-foot roll. I think it was like 10 bucks or something. Fairly thin. So I'm going to use that. And it's the rough side that's going to be adhered. So it's a sticky back, but I can't just rely on the sticky back. I'm going to have to use some glue just to make sure it doesn't fall off on me. Now, a lot of the videos had people using super glue on the bottom. They would coat this bottom in super glue. Most of them just had a gel, not the watery super glue, but the gel super glue. And that's quick, but I'm like, it's not pliable, it's not flexible. I don't know, super glue dries like rock hard. And on a flexible surface, I don't think a rock hard glue layer is the best. So I have worked with shoe glue in the past, or E6000. This is a clear, but it bonds to rubber well, so I probably didn't even need to scuff up the bottom, but that's optional on your side. But this dries clear, and it is flexible, So as you're, flexing in your shoes as you're walking, it's not going to crack like the super glue would. Now, bowling shoes, you're not going to be running and you're not going to be flexing that much, but I want the ability to, squat down, and which naturally flexes your sole. I want to be able to squat down or flex it without hearing my super glue crackling or something like that. So I'm definitely going to use the shoe glue. Now, as far as the soles, so I traced this out on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, since my soles are size 12. And this is what the heel looks like. But I'm not going to cut the material for the slides and then stick it on the shoe. I just wanted to get, just wanted to measure it. Now, when you're buying heel material, I wanted, suede on the shoes, and I wanted at least my slide shoe to be suede. So this is a Nubuck suede or buckskin suede slide. And it's like a S7 to S9 slide rating. But I wanted something that's going to last, way longer than just cheap microfiber. I think this 5x8 sheet is about $16 on bowling.com, no tax-free shipping. And the microfiber is like $15.99, but then you get 2 of these, because it's like supposedly buy one get one free. So this material is roughly about twice as much per square inch than the microfiber. I could have done this everywhere, but I just want to preserve this one for the slide, and then this everywhere else, and then who knows, maybe later on I'll upgrade this to everywhere, but depending on how well they slide. This is an S8 slide, and this is anywhere between S7 and S9, I guess is what they said. So I can mix and match in the future, but that's what I have. Now, this is for the sole, which is, now this is a 5x8. So if we take this and we see that if we line that up, it'll come to this first line here, right? Now, if you got, they also sell heel. This is a sole replacement slide sole, but they also have replacement heels, which is a different dimension. It's a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. That's what this measures out to be, and it's like $12 or whatever. But if you cut out your heel like this, it only goes to this bottom line here, right? So that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Then you'd have a gap between the top line and the bottom line. Okay, not the end of the world. But I was looking at the price of the heel. Now the heel typically is double thick, but I didn't necessarily want a double thick heel. I have a flat bottom shoe, perfectly flat, and I don't need it to be raised in the heel. I'm 6'5". I don't need any height. So there is no advantage to putting a heel. This is a flat bottom shoe, so I wanted flat slides all the way down. So I didn't want the heel. I didn't want to pay more per square inch for the heel, just because it's double thickness, especially since it only goes up to here. And so I was like, well, shoot, I'll use this one for my left slide foot, the top slide. And then since this is a 2-pack of the 5x8s, obviously I will use one of them for my right foot, the sole of my foot, so from the top to the first line. But then I could use the second one of these to do the heels of both feet. So I have microfiber S8, and then on the other foot, on the left foot, I would do microfiber S8 and then a buckskin slide. So by doing this, not only do I achieve flat sole all the way down, but it's a little bit more cost effective because I can get 2 heels out of this second S8 sole by turning it sideways and then taking the heel, right? I can get 2 heels out of this one slide, just like that. So that works for me. And one of the advantages is, instead of the heel going up to here, I can have the heel go up to there. So it minimizes the gap. So it's a win-win-win situation for me. I'm going to do that. So yeah, I had already traced this out on one of them, and I cut this out. So I'll have to fine tune these into this shape, but that's the next step. So now I need to puncture the shoe goo, and then get the Velcro put on the bottom of this rubber sole, and then weight it down somehow, and then let that dry. Okay, I took the shoe goo and I put it around the perimeter and then started going inside. I'm just going to use a normal popsicle stick to smooth it out. Okay, I have the shoe glue applied. This is starting to dry, tack up quicker than I thought. I asked Alexa what's the working time on this, and she said 4 to 8 hours. But it's like 78 degrees in here. There's almost zero humidity. I live in Phoenix, and this is starting to gum up a smidge. But I think that's okay, just as long as you got it everywhere. All on the perimeters, and you kind of smoothed it out. If you wait too long to smooth it, it'll start kind of rolling like rubber. So just smooth it out in a thin bead. Now I wanted these to be level, so I did grab some two tall tuna cans. I tried these other tuna cans, but anyway, these worked out the best. So now I'm going to take the sticky back off of this and stick it on each shoe, and then maybe put some cans on top for some weights. Okay, so the Velcro, I just laid the Velcro on, made sure that it's covering all the sole everywhere. And then to press it down, I just take the backing of the Velcro, the shiny side, and then kind of give it some pressure, back and forth. Okay, it's the next day, so it's been about 24 hours. And we have the rubber bands on the sides and the ends, so we're gonna take these off. And I did notice that there was some shoe glue coming through the Velcro. So in the future, next time I do this, just for your reference, I think once you pour the shoe glue on one shoe evenly, to make the treads all flat and smooth, with a popsicle stick, you make it all flat and smooth and glossy. And once it's all glossy, then you can go to the other shoe. Make the other shoe glossy and flat, perfectly flat. Then what I think is best, instead of immediately putting this on, is to wait until that gloss goes totally away, and to where it becomes tacky. Probably a few hours or something like that. Don't rush to put it on, because what I found is if you rush to put it on and it's still wet and you're pushing this down, that wet shoe glue will come through. So you want it to make it dry and tacky, not totally cured. I think cure is like 4 to 8 hours, but then 24 to 48 hours before use and all that stuff. So at least within the next couple hours or 4 hours, just keep looking at it and wait for it to get totally matte to where it's kind of tacky with your hand. Then you can put the Velcro on and press it down without having to worry about it coming through, because you don't really want it to come through. You want the Velcro to hold, not the glue to hold. Anyway, so let's turn these things over. Let's get the cans off. Okay, so now we have the shoes. Now we can either do one of two things. We can apply the patches to the bottom and then use a razor blade to cut through both layers. That would probably be cleaner. Or we can cut around this with a razor blade and then apply the slides and then subsequently cut those. There's pros and cons to doing it either way. If we put the slides on now we have to cut through both layers, but once the layers are both cut through, they will be perfectly the same shape. But if you do this first, you can cut this And it's easier to cut with the razor blade. Then when you put this on, it's easier to see where to place it. And then when you do cut this, you only have to go through one layer. So I'm not sure which I will do. I think I will just cut this first. So let me grab a razor blade and then we can cut these around. Okay, I have finished cutting the bottom of this. I was going to initially use a razor blade. You know, I have an assortment of razor blades here. But in doing so, I realized it was it was being jagged. So instead I grabbed a nice sharp pair of scissors and I was able to get it very smooth and clean and contoured around the whole shoe. So I think I did a really good job there. The only part where I couldn't use a scissors is kind of on this concave part here, because on the long scissors, this was getting in the way, or this was getting in the way. So I did, on this inside curve, I did use a little bit of the razor blade, but everywhere else I was able to smoothly and cleanly use this knife. Now, because this Velcro is extremely sticky, as it's supposed to be, you will have to clean your knife with like a Goo Gone or Goof Off, like every 2 or 3 cuts. Keep this blade super clean, because it will get that sticky adhesive on it. And as you cut with it, if it's super sticky when you cut with it, you're going to have jagged edges. So just stop every 2 or 3 cuts, like quarter shoe, every quarter of a shoe. Go, clean it, come back, do the other quarter of the shoe, go, clean it, and come back. So both of them are perfectly awesome now. And I'm very glad I didn't put the soles on and then cut this. I wanted this to be done independent. 1, because of the thickness, and 2, I think it's just going to make it easier. Now we're going to take my slide shoe. Actually, let's start with a non-slide shoe. That way, if I mess up, I don't mess up the leather. So now I can just take this and put it down. I can't do it with my hand, but I'm going to place these on here, including one for the heel at the end, and then trim to fit. I'll be back. Okay, so I have them laid out. And this actually is just turning out way better than I thought. Originally, I was planning there being a gap in between the pieces, as indicated here. This is the top sole, which is the largest I can get this piece here, which would go down to this first line. And then if I bought the heel, then it would only go to here. But instead of the heel, I'm going to use a half of a sole. So I thought I'd have at least like a, what is that, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch gap. But this silhouette was made worst case scenario. You know, if you look down here, you can see this is right here. But the sole is tapered. And so the actual footprint on the ground, where it actually touches the ground, is smaller than this original silhouette that I did. Consequently, this one little 1/2 inch gap that I was anticipating has now vanished. So now I can get a gap free. I can only have a seam, which is perfect. Nothing to get stuck up in there, dirt, gunk, anything like that. So now it'll be a perfectly smooth seam. So this will be a full S8 over here, and then this will be S8 on the bottom 40%, and on the top 65% will be the leather. Now let's get this cut in the same manner that we cut the Velcro, using our scissors as explained, and blade as needed if and when at the end. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm all done trimming with the scissors. And I must say, this turned out better than I had hoped. It's seamless in between here. So this is the left foot, the slide foot, suede, and then S8 microfiber for the rest. No gap. So yeah. I can't wait to use these. for the fall bowling league season. So just to recap, these two, all the white slides you see here, all the material here is 16. This is 6, the leather is 16. So it's about $33 just for the slide material. And if you got Dexter's or something like that, or not only would they not fit the shoes that you want to convert into bowling shoes, but it would be still way more expensive than the $33. And it would have a gap here. So this is a triple win situation. So it's $33 for the slides. We're looking for $6 for the shoe goo. So that's $39. And the Velcro was $9. So that's $48. But of course I'm going to have most of the Velcro left over. It's a 7-foot roll and I used, what, 2 feet? So I'm going to have 5 feet left over. But so you're going to have 6 foot of Velcro left for future shoes, but let's just throw that cost in here just to be fair, because you still have to expend that cost. So, and I didn't use all the shoe glue, but darn near, you know. So worst case scenario, $48 to convert any shoes you want into bowling shoes. Whoop, whoop. So I am super stoked. I am super happy. I got my suede Airwalks dyed in the color that I wanted to, and converted into awesome bowling shoes. And I mean, I can swap these out anytime. You can't do that with all bowling shoes. So yeah, there are bowling shoes, cheap bowling shoes that are made of plastic, and you can get them for as low as $40, $50. So the same price as what you're doing to convert these shoes into. So this is a little bit more expensive way to do it. However, those cheaper bowling shoes don't have replaceable soles. Only the more expensive shoes do. Like $100, $150, $200, $250. So now I have replaceable bowling slides in the material that I want, no gap, with the shoes that I want, no ugly freaking bowling shoes. Woo woo! Super stoked. Make your own. That's all I got for you. Hope this video helped. And here's the final product. Now it's time for you to go to Bowl 300 series for some of you.